Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
I pulled up late, 6:35 p.m., headlights still on, engine running like my nerves. Rusty's diner sat hunched on the corner like it had seen better decades, neon flickering and windows fogged up from the inside. I was barely out of the truck before I saw her. Jeans, gray cardigan, hair in a low ponytail. She looked around like she wasn't sure this was even worth walking into. "My name's Grant." "You Cara?" I asked, even though I already knew. She smiled, soft but guarded, took one step closer, leaned just enough to say it low. "My kids are in the car." Not embarrassed, just braced, like she'd said it before and gotten burned for it. "Before we start, tell us which city or country you're listening from. Let's see which corners of the world we've gathered from today." "Thanks." And now the story. I glanced past her to the sedan near the curb. Old Honda. Fogged up windows. In the back seat, two little faces, one boy, one girl, watching me like they were on some kind of mission. "Let's skip the booth," I said. "Follow me home." 10 minutes. We've got leftover chicken tenders, and my boys are hungry enough to share with a small army. She didn't move right away. Just stood there, arms crossed, eyes darting like she was waiting for something to fall out of the sky and tell her yes or no. I gave her space. I wasn't going to sell it harder than that. Finally, she nodded once, turned, and walked back to her car. 10 minutes later, we pulled up in front of my place, a beat-up split level with a basketball hoop Milo had ripped the net off 2 weeks ago. My guys, Owen and Milo, burst through the front door before I even got the key in. "They bringing kids?" Milo asked, grinning like it was Christmas. "Yep, be cool." Owen shrugged and went back to setting up his block city on the rug. We didn't do fancy, but we did warm and loud. Cara stepped in carrying 2 tired kids. The boy was about 7, already tugging off his shoes. The girl, maybe 5, had a tiny voice and big eyes that didn't blink much. "This is Landon and Tessa," she said, setting them down like she didn't want to let go just yet. "Kitchen straight ahead, tenders in the microwave, peas in the fridge. We go deluxe here," I said. She cracked a small, honest smile. 20 minutes later, the kids were on the rug, all 4 of them, building a tower that made no sense and laughing like it did. Cara sat on the couch with both hands around a mug of tea, like it might bite her. "They were in the car 11 nights, she said, after he vanished. 9 months ago, I didn't say anything smart. I just nodded, so she knew I was actually listening. "They've been okay," she added, "but I've been folding under it." "Then tonight's the break," I said. "Take it." She exhaled, deep, like it came from way down. When it was time to go, she gathered their coats, zipped Tessa into a little pink jacket, and turned to me. "This wasn't really a date," she said. "Nope," I said. "Better." She half smiled, then walked to her car, strapped them in, didn't rush. I stood by the porch light just to make sure they got off okay. Then the back window rolled down and this tiny voice yelled, "Thanks for the tenders?" I kid you not. I felt the house breathe again, like somebody finally opened a stuck window. Next morning I burned the pancakes. Not a little brown, full-on black-bottomed smoke alarms. Milo shuffled in, rubbing his eyes, looked at the pan and said, "So, the new kid's coming back today?" I turned off the stove and sighed. "Not today, bud. Maybe Saturday." He nodded like that was fair, sat down, and started pouring syrup on a plate with no food on it. Owen walked past us without a word, headed straight to the Legos. By 2 o'clock, I was out of pancake mix, patience, and coffee, so I dragged myself to Ridgeway Market. I didn't see Cara right away. I heard her. Down the cereal aisle, her voice cut through the air like a mom who said no 5 times already. "No, Landon. Not the sugar bombs. They're all marshmallow and regret." Landon held a box up like a trophy. Tessa had the off-brand flakes clutched to her chest like they were gold. $2 cheaper, she whispered, eyes wide. I stepped into the aisle right then and laughed. You running a grocery negotiation seminar or just trying to survive? Cara turned, saw me, and actually smiled. It wasn't the polite kind. It was the kind that said, maybe today wasn't all bad. You're late to the war zone, she said. Sugar bomb resistance is already failing. I grabbed a bag of frozen nuggets and casually tossed them into her cart. She looked down, then looked at me. I accept your offering, she said. You want decent coffee or just brown water in a can? Surprise me. She dropped a bag of the good stuff into mine and kept walking like we'd always shopped this way. It was weird how fast it started to feel normal. On the way out, we leaned on our carts near the sliding doors. Cold air blasted between us in the parking lot, and for a second I didn't know if I was supposed to say something or just nod goodbye. You working tomorrow? She asked. Yeah, but I got the early shift. Back by 2. I picked up a night shift. Dishwasher. A real glamorous life. You need someone to watch the kids? She hesitated. I filled the space before she could talk herself out of it. We're already a team. You know that? She studied my face, like she was trying to find the catch. You sure? I wouldn't offer if I wasn't. That Friday, Landon and Tessa showed up with backpacks and worn-out sneakers. Owen acted like it was no big deal, but Milo dragged out every toy we had like he was prepping for company royalty. I fed them peanut butter sandwiches and fruit snacks, and when Cara came back at midnight, they were all passed out in a heap on the living room rug. Saturday, we hit the park. 4 kids, 1 bench, 2 tired adults who didn't try too hard to parent unless someone started crying or bleeding. Cara and I sat shoulder to shoulder, watching the chaos. My microwave's been dead for a month, she said, sipping coffee from a travel mug. I keep pretending I'll fix it myself, but I know I won't. I've got one that turns on but doesn't spin. It's basically a hot cave now. She laughed into her cup. Laundry's the real killer. No matter how much I wash, there's always more. It's like the clothes multiply when I'm not looking. I shrugged. Drop the kids when you need to. No notice required. She glanced at me, real quick. You mean that? Every word. A week later, I was helping Owen sort through his math worksheet when Landon walked up with that hesitant look kids get when they're about to ask for something big. Can I call you Uncle Grant? I froze like an idiot. He was standing there in these faded Spider-Man pajamas, hands jammed in his pockets, not begging, not smiling, just asking like he'd already decided if I said no, it'd be okay. Yeah, I said. Yeah, that's all right. He nodded, like that settled it, turned, and walked away like he hadn't just cracked something open in my chest. Cara must have heard it from the kitchen. I caught her out of the corner of my eye, hands still on the dish towel, eyes wet but not blinking. You okay? I asked, pretending to look out the window so she could have the moment without a spotlight on it. Yeah, she said. Yeah. That Sunday we went to dinner at my late wife's mom's place. Joyce cooked roast beef and mashed potatoes like she always did, and asked how school was going for Owen and Milo. Then, while she was refilling my glass, she hit me with, So, who's this woman I hear about? The one with the kids? I didn't flinch. Friend of mine. We're helping each other out. She gave a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Sounds serious. Not really. Well, people talk. Let 'em. She didn't push, just nodded and went back to her seat. But I felt it hang in the air like a fog. Back in the truck, Milo fell asleep before I hit the highway, and Owen mumbled something about Cara making better peas. I looked in the rearview mirror and thought, this is going to get harder before it gets easier. I was right. The call came just after 8:30 Thursday night. I was halfway through folding towels when Cara's name lit up my phone. I answered before the second ring. Hey, what's up? Her voice was tight, clipped. I'm in front of Marla's diner. Car won't start. Kids are cold. I didn't even ask if she'd called a tow truck. I just said, stay put, grabbed 2 blankets from the dryer and threw on my coat. Owen asked where I was going, but I was already out the door before the question finished. I found them huddled under the dome light in the parking lot, fog curling around the windows like smoke. The car looked like it was trying to be invisible. Cara was in the front seat, hugging herself. Landon and Tessa were curled in the back, still wearing their school clothes. I didn't knock. I opened the driver's side and said, "Let's go." Now Cara turned to argue. "Grant, I didn't call you to—" "You're not a burden," I cut in. "You're coming. That's it." She stared at me like she wanted to keep resisting, but her eyes were too tired to finish the fight. She got out and opened the back door, whispered something to the kids I couldn't hear, and they climbed into my truck without a word. Back at my place, the cold peeled off them like a second skin. Owen grabbed dry socks from the laundry basket and tossed them to Landon. Cara stood just inside the doorway like she didn't want to drip guilt on my floor. "We've got cocoa," I said. "It's the cheap stuff, but it works." I lit the fireplace, and for once it didn't spit and sputter. It actually did what a fireplace is supposed to do. Cara took the mug of tea I handed her and just stood at the counter staring into it like it might show her the next move on the board. "I slept in my truck once," I said. 3 nights. After my wife passed. Boys were at my sister's. I didn't want to go home. She didn't say anything. Just kept her eyes on the steam rising from the cup. Then she reached out and touched my hand. A soft tap, barely there, but enough. It felt like she was saying thank you without making it awkward. Like maybe, just maybe, I wasn't crossing a line. Just standing next to her inside one she was drawing for herself. I gave her the kids' beds without asking. She tried to argue, said they could take the couch, said she didn't want to disrupt anything. I said, "They'll sleep better in a bed," and walked off before she could say more. Owen and Milo bunked with me on the pullout. We made a game of it. Blanket fort, lights out, snore contests. Nobody complained. Next morning, the sun was barely up when my neighbor Linda was out watering her plants in a robe that probably hadn't been washed since Clinton was in office. She saw Cara loading the kids into the car and waved. Too long. Too curious. I waved back without smiling. I knew what she saw. 1 woman, 2 new kids, leaving my house early. I could practically hear the phone calls starting across the street. Later that day, I got a message. No name. Just a number I didn't recognize and the words, "He moved a woman in." That was it. No details, no courage. I didn't answer, didn't reply, didn't forward it. Just grabbed an old notebook from the junk drawer and started writing. Dates, times, who was where, what was said. If you're a dad, especially one trying to do right after people decide you're wrong, you learn to put things on paper. Paper doesn't forget. People do. Cara's car was still toast, wouldn't even turn over. I called Rico, told him what was up, and he showed up with a used starter he'd pulled off a salvage job 2 days before. "It'll work," he said. "Ain't pretty, but it'll crank." It did. First try. Cara sat in the driver's seat, both hands on the wheel like she didn't trust it yet. When the engine rumbled to life, she looked up at me with glassy eyes and no words. "You don't owe me anything," I told her. "I'm bringing lasagna next Friday," she said. Her voice was firm, like it was already scheduled and written down. "Don't argue with me." "I wouldn't dare." She smiled, small and tired, but real. That night, I sat on the couch with a blank page in front of me and wrote the line that mattered most. If people want a story, I'll give them the right one. Mine. Then I circled the word burden and crossed it out in red. I was halfway through a cup of coffee and an overdue bill when the knock hit. 3 sharp taps, 2 firm, 2 timed. Not a neighbor, not a delivery. I opened the door and saw a woman in a government-issued gray coat, clipboard in hand and badge swinging from her lanyard like it had already made up its mind. "Mr. Grant Ralston?" "Yes." "I'm with Child Protective Services. We received an anonymous report of children staying here overnight in what was described as unverified, potentially unsafe conditions. I need to ask a few questions and take a quick look inside." I stepped aside without thinking. Coffee sat on the end table going cold. My hands didn't know where to go, so I crossed my arms and kept my mouth shut. She didn't smile, didn't scowl either. She walked through the living room slow, eyes scanning like she was reading a checklist off the walls. She paused by the coat hooks where 4 backpacks hung, all labeled in black Sharpie. She made a note. The kids who stayed, are they family? They're friends of my boys. Their mom, Cara, and I, we're helping each other out. You're not cohabiting? Not in a romantic relationship? We're not living together. She stayed here with her kids when there's been trouble. Car breaking down, no heat, that's it. She raised her eyebrows like I'd hit a line she hears every week. Still, overnight stays qualify as placement in the eyes of CPS. I didn't place anyone. I opened my door. She didn't respond, just walked through the kitchen, opened the fridge, glanced inside. Food supply looks stable. Yeah, I feed them. Any medication in reach of the children? Locked up in the cabinet above the stove. She checked. I'd moved them there just last month when Milo climbed on the counter looking for gummy vitamins. She nodded again and jotted more notes. We stood in silence while she looked around one last time. My palms were sweating, heart punching through my chest even though I knew everything was clean, safe, and right. She finally lowered the clipboard. Nothing here raises flags, Mr. Ralston. I'll file this as a resolved concern, pending no further reports. You will receive written confirmation in the mail. I almost said thank you, but I didn't. I just nodded. She paused on the porch before turning. One more thing. This kind of report doesn't usually come from strangers. You may want to speak with whoever has access to your family schedule and your home address. The door clicked shut behind her, and the coffee tasted like mud when I tried to finish it. First thing I did was call Shannon. Did you give my address to anyone? There was a pause long enough to break something. Mom's been worried. She talks to Brooke. Brooke asked if she could check in, just see how you and the boys are doing. And you gave her my address? I thought it was harmless, Grant. She's family. Brooke's my late wife's sister and a local reporter, so every check-in comes with a notebook. No, she's a reporter with a personal grudge. I'll deal with it. I hung up before I said something I'd have to undo. I grabbed the boys and headed to the park. I needed air, and I needed out of the house before I punched a wall. Cara showed up 20 minutes later, coat unzipped, hair in a loose braid like she'd been rushing. She spotted me sitting on the bench and didn't even wait for me to speak. What happened? I looked up. Someone reported us. CPS showed this morning. Said anonymous complaint. Unsafe conditions. Her face dropped. It was Trevor. You sure? He texted me last night. New number. Asked if you were the mover boyfriend. Like that's your whole personality. I clenched my jaw so hard my ears rang. Okay, we stay smart. Keep every receipt. Keep notes. Keep calm. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let him get close enough to know where I am. Not your fault. He sniffed us out like a rat in the walls. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat down with my phone and typed out a message to Joyce. I'm dating. The boys are safe. Please don't send people to my door again. I hit send and waited. Nothing. 2 hours later, Brooke replied instead. Her message was short and sharp. The boys need stability. This isn't it. I didn't write back. I slept on the couch that night. Not because anyone told me to, because I needed to be where I could hear both bedrooms and the front door, in case another knock came. It wasn't fear. It was guard duty. Around 3 a.m., I flipped open the notebook again and logged every detail. Name of the CPS worker, time, her comments, Cara's text from Trevor, Shannon's call. I didn't know where this was headed, but I was going to walk into it with proof in my hands. Because next time someone tried to rewrite our story, I wasn't letting them hold the pen. The air was just warm enough that Sunday for the kids to ditch their jackets mid-run, their voices bouncing off the park benches and swing chains like they hadn't had a single worry in months. Cara and I sat on the low wall near the sandpit, splitting a bag of trail mix and trading stories about the dumb things our kids had flushed down toilets. It almost felt like peace, until it didn't. I saw him before I smelled him. Clean jacket that looked new, smile too wide, cologne that hit like cheap liquor. Trevor strolled into the park with his chest puffed out like he'd earned a parade. "Great," Cara muttered. Her hand gripped the bench like she needed to anchor herself. He didn't even glance at us, went straight to Landon and Tessa with a pack of candy and a bunch of noise, all fake enthusiasm and sugary bribes. "Hey, hey! Look who it is! I brought your favorites!" Cara didn't move. Her eyes locked on the kids, her shoulders locked in place. I could see it, her breath coming short like she'd just stepped on a nail. I stood up, walked a few steps toward them and said loud enough for both kids to hear, "Ask your mom first." Landon froze with a piece of gum halfway to his mouth. Tessa looked back at Cara. Trevor's smile twitched, then dropped. He turned toward me, slow and slick. "Who are you again?" I didn't blink. "I'm the one that shows up." His grin cracked like bad vinyl. "Funny. Heard you're real generous with your house. Taking in strays now?" Cara stepped forward, voice tight. "Trevor, what are you doing here?" "Just seeing my kids. You haven't seen them in over a year." "I've been getting my life together," he said, and scratched the side of his nose like it was a tick. "I got a place now." "Where?" she asked, arms crossed. He looked off toward the parking lot. "It's a basement apartment." "Almost mine." Paperwork's in motion. I slid my hand into my coat pocket and tapped my phone. Hit record. I didn't feel proud of it. I didn't even feel sneaky. I just knew better than to trust his voice without backup. He stepped closer to her. "You locked me out. Took my kids. Then you moved in with this guy? For what? His truck and microwave meals?" "Trevor, stop," she said. "We've done just fine without you." "Oh, I bet." Storybook life. Until someone calls CPS and things get real. I took 2 steps closer and kept my tone flat. "You're not taking them today. You don't even have a legal standing." He ignored me. "They're mine. I want them back." At my place, Cara's voice dropped low, barely louder than the wind. "Do you remember those 11 nights in the car? When they cried themselves to sleep?" He scoffed. Actually scoffed. "That was your choice. You pushed me out." That was it. My teeth clenched so tight I felt my jaw click. I stepped between him and the kids, not touching him, just drawing a line with my body. "You need to leave." He pointed straight at my face, all bluster and bad breath. "I'll see you in court." I kept my hands at my sides. "Good. Bring a calendar this time," he sneered, said something under his breath I didn't catch, then spun on his heel and stormed off toward the parking lot. I didn't move until the sound of his engine faded under the hum of the swings and the yelling of kids who had no idea how close chaos had crept. My hands were shaking. Bad. I tried to hide it, but Owen saw. He grabbed my wrist, eyes wide. "You didn't even flinch." I laughed, not because it was funny, because he was wrong. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with the phone plugged into my laptop, pulled the audio file off and listened. Trevor's voice was all over it, calling Cara unstable, claiming he couldn't deal, saying he had to bounce when things got hard. I saved the file 3 times, labeled it with the date, copied it to a USB, and emailed it to myself. Then I sent it to Cara. She didn't text back right away. When she finally did, all it said was, "I didn't want it to come to this. But thank you." I didn't reply. We both knew what was coming. I added one more line to the notebook. "Trevor, Sunday, 2:42 p.m. Park. Admitted abandonment on audio. Witnessed by me and Cara." I closed the cover and sat there for a long time watching the kids sleep on the baby monitor. I wasn't out for revenge. But if this was war, I'd fight with the only weapons that didn't lie: paper and the truth. By Tuesday morning, I knew something was off before I even touched my coffee. My phone buzzed with 2 notifications from the moving company page, both brand new 1-star reviews. One claimed I broke a TV and refused to refund the damages. The other accused my crew of stealing tools and smoking weed on the job. I didn't recognize either name, and neither left a phone number or job location. Brand new accounts, zero history, both posted within 15 minutes of each other. I stared at them for a full minute before I laughed. Sharp, humorless. I wasn't a fool. I knew exactly what this was. I just hoped the guy was too lazy to get creative. That laugh died real quick when I walked outside and saw the box truck sitting crooked in the driveway. Front left, tire slashed clean, rubber peeled open like a fish belly. Job for the day was canceled on the spot. Lost 3 hours of labor and $340 I actually needed. Cara came out just after I did. She had Tessa on her hip, and sleep still in her eyes. She looked down at the tire, then at me. "Trevor asked what company you ran," she said quietly. "Last week. When he was texting, I rubbed my face." "And you told him?" "No. I didn't answer. But one time before the CPS stuff, he followed us. I saw his car in the rearview mirror." "Why didn't you tell me then?" "I didn't want to make things worse. They're already worse." She didn't argue, just nodded like she'd earned the hit, and knew it. That afternoon, I vented to Rico while we were patching the tire and checking the others for slow leaks. He wiped grease on his sleeve and said, "Get a camera." Nothing fancy, just something that records. I went to the electronics store after dinner and bought a dash cam for $79, mounted it to the side window of the truck facing the street, set it to loop, and crossed my fingers. I also knocked on my neighbor Phil's door. He's the only guy on the block with a doorbell cam he actually checks. Asked if he'd mind pointing it slightly left for a few days. He grunted and said sure, then asked if my driveway drama meant he should worry about his Camaro. I told him to check his tires every morning just in case. Friday, just after midnight, the camera paid off. I was dead asleep when I heard the alert on my phone. I checked the footage half awake. At exactly 12:43 a.m., a silver hatchback rolled past my house, real slow. 2 minutes later, it came back from the other direction. This time, a figure in a hoodie got out, crouched low by the front tire, and did something quick with his hands. You could see a flash of metal, a glint off the tool. Then he ran back to the car. Phil's cam only caught half the plate, but it was enough. I packaged both clips and texted them to Officer Decker. He volunteers at the elementary school's safety nights, and we'd talked more than a few times. I labeled it Truck Vandalism, Confirmed Suspect, and added the address. Next afternoon, Trevor had the gall to text Cara a picture of my truck mid-tow. Tire flat again. No words, just the image. Big smirking energy. I didn't reply to him. I just forwarded the clip of the hoodie slashing the tire and added a case number emoji. Nothing else. He went quiet. That same night, Shannon sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post. Brooke had written some passive-aggressive nonsense about men who replace mothers too soon, and how grief shouldn't be a loophole for lowering standards. I didn't even react. Just looked at the post, let my jaw clench, then deleted it. Shannon said it vanished from Brooke's page 10 minutes later anyway. By Saturday, I needed a reset. I told the boys we were doing our own version of Thanksgiving. Hot dogs in the garage, sports on the little TV, no relatives, no drama, just us. Cara brought potato salad and a little folded smile she tried to hide behind a water bottle. She stood in the doorway for a second, like she didn't know if she was welcome inside. "Come on," I said. "We're starting a new tradition, Maysgiving. Maysgiving, our DIY Thanksgiving. Hot dogs, gratitude, zero drama." That cracked a real grin from her. She sat on the cooler and passed out chips while the kids argued about whether ketchup belongs on hot dogs. Later, while the boys were building some kind of pillow bunker inside, I stepped out to the driveway with Cara. The air was cool, quiet. "If he touches another tire," I said, "I'm pressing charges." She didn't flinch. "Do it anyway." I held her eyes for a second. "You sure?" "I'm done hoping he'll wake up." The kids deserve more than maybe next time. Monday morning, I walked into the station and filed the paperwork. Vandalism, suspicion of stalking, and interference with a small business. I stapled the dash cam stills to the report. Paper. Always paper. The papers hit faster than I expected. Cara filed for full custody and support, 2 days after the vandalism report went through. I followed with a short declaration asking the court to officially note that the boys' maternal relatives had no legal standing to interfere with our daily routine, or send welfare checks without cause. Nothing fancy. 2 paragraphs, typed in bold, signed in ink. We both ended up at the community center legal clinic on a Wednesday morning, barely caffeinated and already drowning in paperwork. Ms. Alvarez, this sharp-eyed woman in her 60s with calloused hands and a tired voice, walked us through the forms like she'd done it 1,000 times and still had enough patience left to care. She didn't flinch at the mess, didn't judge the details, just circled the spots we needed to sign and explained the filing fee like it was just another step on a broken sidewalk. They set both hearings for the same day, she told us. That's a gift. Don't waste it, we didn't. That Monday morning, I wore my only decent button down and brushed Milo's toothpaste off the sleeve twice before leaving the house. Cara wore black pants and a blazer that didn't quite fit her shoulders, but she looked steady. Landon stayed with a neighbor. I brought Owen and Milo to Shannon, who promised to keep them out of the loop and off social media for the day. The courthouse was colder than I expected. White walls, gray tile, no clocks, and no place to sit where you didn't feel like you were doing something wrong. In the hallway outside courtroom B, we stood near the water fountain and tried not to pace. That's when Brooke showed up. She had on a cream sweater and lipstick that looked freshly applied, hair curled like it was for a wedding. She walked right up to me like she was still my sister-in-law, and not the one stirring the pot. "You're confusing the boys," she said. Not even a hello. I didn't raise my voice, didn't roll my eyes. I looked straight at her and said, "No. Confusion is being told to love people in secret. I don't play that game." Her mouth opened like she had a comeback, but nothing came out. She turned away fast, shoes clicking like an exit line. Judge Larkin walked into the courtroom 5 minutes late, glasses halfway down his nose, face like he'd seen every kind of lie twice and didn't care for a third round. I decided then and there, I'd talk straight or not at all. Cara's lawyer opened with the basics: timeline, current custody breakdown, Trevor's lack of contact, the living arrangements, the vandalism report. Then came the audio from the park. When it played, the room went still. Trevor's voice filled the air, sloppy and smug. I had to bounce. Couldn't deal. It sounded even worse than I remembered. You could hear the kids in the background, one of them asking if they were going to get ice cream. You could hear Cara's voice shake when she brought up the 11 nights in the car. And you could hear him laugh. The judge leaned forward, chin resting on his hand. No expression. Then came Decker's report. License plate matched. Timeline lined up. Surveillance footage on record. Full case submitted with the vandalism complaint. Trevor finally spoke. "That wasn't me. Anybody can wear a hoodie." The judge looked at him. "And how do you explain the text messages about the truck being towed? The ones with timestamps that line up to the minute?" Trevor blinked. That was just a coincidence. Even his lawyer didn't nod. The rest moved fast. Cara got primary custody, no conditions. Trevor was granted supervised visits, 2 hours every other Saturday at the county center, with a social worker present. Judge ordered child support set at $412 a month. First payment due in 30 days. 6-month review hearing scheduled. Miss a visit or a payment, and it all goes back on the table. Then came my petition. The judge flipped through it slowly, eyes narrowing when he got to the line about surprise welfare checks. "I've received 3 letters from Ms. Joyce Underhill," he said, glancing up. "Concerned grandmother. Wording suggests she believes she can dictate the household arrangements of her late daughter's children." I nodded. "She's grieving. But she's not their parent. I am. She's not listed as a guardian, not on any emergency forms. She's not entitled to make drop-ins or direct school staff, not unless there's evidence of abuse or neglect, which I haven't seen." He set the paper down. "Let him parent." Just like that. Outside, the air felt thicker, louder, like everything had slowed down again. Cara hugged me quick, tight, then stepped back like she didn't want to make a scene. "You okay?" I asked. "We didn't win everything," she said. But we won the part that matters. I nodded. We kept them steady. Brooke walked past us in the parking lot. Wouldn't meet my eyes. I didn't follow. Just said over my shoulder, "Doors open when you're ready to be on our side." She didn't turn around. That night, Owen sat next to me on the couch with a bowl of popcorn and asked, "So, is court like it is on TV?" "Not even close," I said. "It's like the DMV, but everyone wears a suit and no one knows what line they're in." He laughed so hard he choked, then burped and laughed again. Best sound I'd heard all day. The Saturday after court, we showed up early at the same community center that had helped us figure out which way was up. Cara signed us all in, even the kids, and we were given clipboards, name tags, and jobs like we'd been part of the team since day one. It didn't feel like charity. It felt like clocking in for something that finally mattered. I got assigned to the loading zone out back, helping folks carry groceries to their trunks. Cara worked intake, handling paperwork like a traffic cop with a smile, keeping things moving, calming the ones who walked in overwhelmed and twitchy. Landon carried boxes bigger than he probably should have, proud little forklift in sneakers. Tessa ran the sticker station with a roll of smiley face labels and a bossy voice that made grown adults obey her without blinking. Every once in a while, I'd catch Cara looking at me from across the room. Just a second or two. No big speech in her eyes. Just that kind of glance you give someone when you both know you're on the same side of the fence for once. Around noon, while we were wheeling crates of canned beans toward the pantry, I met a guy named Lionel, tall, scruffy beard, work boots with the toes worn down. Said he'd been sleeping in his truck since January. Told me which grocery lots you could park in overnight without security knocking, and which ones had cameras that actually worked. I nodded, told him about the time I spent 3 nights in mine. We didn't swap pity, just respect. Like soldiers comparing scars. Business on my end finally started to level out. The fake reviews got buried once I posted the Vandalism clip and asked 3 past customers to write honest feedback. They did better than that. They wrote full-on stories, named my crew by name, tagged the page. Rico's cousin Mateo started picking up extra shifts. Fast learner, quiet guy, but handled heavy lifting like it was nothing. I bumped him up to lead on Fridays, let him drive the old box truck when I couldn't. With the steady work, I walked into the bank and asked for a small equipment loan. Nothing crazy, just enough to breathe. $6,800, approved at an interest rate that didn't choke me. I bought a used box truck with a dented door and a solid engine. Nothing flashy, but it started every time, and I didn't have to beg for it. That Sunday, Joyce texted, "Any chance you and the boys might come for dinner again?" Just dinner. I promise I didn't ignore it. I didn't say no, either. "We'll be at the park around 4. Come by if you want to say hello. Cara'll be there too." Neutral ground. No one controlled the benches. No one had to host. No speeches. Just see each other as we were now. She showed up in a beige windbreaker and sat on the edge of the picnic table while the kids ran laps across the grass. She didn't say much, mostly watched. Asked Tessa what grade she was in, gave Landon a small bag of M&Ms, and told him not to eat them all at once. Civil. Careful. Then it happened. Tessa tripped near the swings, scraped her hand, ran to Cara crying and yelled out, "Mom!" The whole park went quiet in my ears. Tessa realized what she'd said and looked straight at me like she just swore in church. But Cara didn't flinch. She knelt, cleaned the scrape with a wipe from her purse, and said, "You're okay." Joyce was 10 feet away and heard it. I know she did. But she didn't say a word. She just stood, dusted off her pants, and walked toward her car without slamming the door. I packed up the cooler, threw the soccer ball back in the trunk, and for the first time in months, my shoulders dropped 2 full inches without effort. That night, Cara stood at the hallway thermostat and said, "There's a key tucked behind here now. Just so you know." She didn't turn around. Didn't wait for a response. Just said it like she was leaving breadcrumbs for someone she trusted to find their way home. I nodded. Got it. We bought a whiteboard from Target the next day, screwed it right into the wall next to the fridge, split it into 6 boxes with a black marker. Owen, Milo, Landon, Tessa, Cara, me, chores, notes, school reminders, who had whose lunch duty. Milo drew a dinosaur in the corner and labeled it Laundry Monster. Some nights the list was ignored, other nights it ran the show. But nobody was lost in the shuffle anymore. The house stopped feeling like a stopgap. It started feeling like somewhere you arrive to, not somewhere you run from. Summer came in hot and heavy. Sun by 8 a.m., mosquitoes by 8:15, sweat by 8:30. We didn't do anything fancy. We kept the kids busy with free swim at the Y and a $20 backyard sprinkler from Home Depot. They wore out the grass and each other, screaming like every day was the 4th of July. Sometimes we packed cold sandwiches and sat in lawn chairs till dusk. It wasn't picture perfect, but nobody complained. Trevor missed 2 supervised visits back to back. Didn't call, didn't show. The third one, he showed up 20 minutes late and tried to play it cool like he'd just hit traffic. The monitor logged it all. One more line in a folder that didn't forget anything. Then he pulled another stunt, posted on Facebook at 1 a.m. about Cara keeping his kids from him, and called her bitter. Tagged nobody, but it still made its way around. I didn't lose it. I just commented the court order dates and visitation times, clean, no emotion, and let the silence do the rest. Post was gone by noon. Brooke texted the next day with one of those long, emotional messages about healing and family and how we should bring the kids to her July cookout. Said it was time to reconnect. I stared at the screen for a while. Then I typed back, "We're building our own traditions this year. Wishing you a good one." That was it. The truth is, I'd already started drawing lines in ink, not sand. I didn't want confusion when things got messy again. So I sat down one night and wrote out a guardianship plan. Listed Shannon as emergency contact, included Cara's number and the boys' medical info, signed it, dated it, gave a copy to Mr. Hahn, the school counselor, with a short note. If I get hit by a bus, don't guess who to call. He nodded without asking a single personal question. Work picked up. Saturdays turned into double job days. Mateo handled half the load without blinking, so I bumped his pay and didn't make a speech. He earned it. I let the numbers do the talking. Business was steady, bills were paid, and nobody had to dig through change jars to get gas. One night, Cara and I sat at the kitchen table with open notebooks and a pile of receipts between us. The overhead light buzzed a little, but the mood was calm. "We're not rich," she said, eyes on the math, "but the lights are on and there's food in the fridge. And both cars run," I added, "which is worth gold in this house." She reached into her purse, pulled out a white envelope, and slid it across the table. I didn't open it. "What's this?" $200. "For school shoes. I've been saving it." "You don't need to do that." "I know," she said. "That's why I am. Team, remember?" That ended it. I didn't say anything right away. Just stood, walked to the junk drawer, and grabbed the extra key I'd made 2 weeks earlier. It had a bright red rubber cover so it wouldn't get mixed up with the others. I walked back to the table and dropped it in front of her, on a real key ring. Not a spare tucked behind the thermostat. Not hidden. Real. She looked at it, picked it up, didn't cry, but her jaw tightened and her mouth pressed flat like she was holding back 100 things that didn't need saying. "You want garlic bread tonight or frozen pizza?" I asked, changing the subject before the moment turned too big. Garlic bread. Always garlic bread. An hour later, Owen walked into the kitchen, sniffing the air like a cartoon character. "Why does it smell like garlic bread and floor cleaner in here?" "That," I said, "is what home smells like." He rolled his eyes and said, "Okay, Dad," like I'd told the corniest joke on earth. After dinner, I sent Joyce a picture of the kids at the pool, goggles on their heads, hair dripping, all 4 of them grinning like little lunatics. I didn't caption it, just the photo. She texted back a red heart. No lecture, no comments, just that. I sat on the couch that night and realized I hadn't woken up once the night before. No bad dreams, no hallway pacing, no checking locks twice. I hadn't done that in years, and I knew damn well why. The school gym smelled like sweat, popcorn, and that dusty wax they use on polished floors. October 20th, packed to the walls, folding chairs squeaking under every shift. You'd think the kids were about to perform Broadway instead of a 10-minute mashup of songs and poems. Cara squeezed my hand while we waited for things to start. Her knee bumped mine, just enough to say, "This is real." Landon walked onto the stage like he was walking a tightrope, shoulders stiff, eyes scanning the crowd like a soldier on patrol. He read 2 lines from a poem, something about trees and wind, and the second his mouth closed, he grinned like he'd just climbed Everest in flip-flops. Tessa waved at us mid-song, skipped a lyric, then tried to catch up, whisper singing with her whole face red. That's our girl. No filter, all heart. Owen forgot his line completely, stared at the mic for 3 seconds, then shrugged and grinned like a goofball. Half the parents laughed. Milo, not even on stage yet, clapped so hard from the second row that the whole section turned around. Nobody died, nobody melted. The world kept spinning. While we waited for the chaos to die down, teachers re-wrangling kids, parents fake laughing through small talk, Cara leaned her head on my shoulder. I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. It felt like we'd finally found the right station on the radio after months of static. Then, at the edge of the gym near the side door, I saw Trevor. Jacket zipped high, hands in his pockets, standing half in the shadow like he knew damn well he wasn't supposed to be there. He didn't even make it 5 steps inside. Principal Dawson spotted him immediately, walked over without a scene, showed him something on her clipboard, then signaled to security. The 2 guards walked him out like they were giving directions to a parking spot. No drama, no yelling, just rules doing their job for once. Afterward, we crammed into a booth at Lenny's, one meant for 4 people max, and made it work. Landon sat on Cara's lap until she couldn't feel her legs. Milo spilled ketchup on the table and tried to wipe it with a napkin that already had syrup on it. Tessa ordered a grilled cheese, didn't eat it, then stole 3 fries from Owen. Nobody told them to shrink. Nobody said act right or quiet down. We laughed, loud. We passed a milkshake around like a peace treaty. And when we got home, just before unlocking the door, Cara stopped us all on the porch. "Selfie," she said. Milo had ketchup on his cheek. Owen blinked too slow. My eyes were half closed, and Landon had Tessa in a headlock that somehow counted as affection. Cara held the phone out and hit the button. Click. 6 people. 1 porch light. Not perfect, but honest. I texted the picture to Shannon, then paused a second, sighed, and sent it to Joyce too. 2 replies came back. Proud. Same word, from both. Nothing else. Later, sitting in the kitchen, kids asleep, dishes still in the sink, Cara looked at me over her mug and said, "I never thought any of this would hold." I didn't rush my answer. I looked right at her and said, "It held because we wrote it down, showed up, and didn't blink when people pushed." She didn't say anything else, just nodded like she was filing the words away for later. I didn't win this thing with fireworks. There was no dramatic moment where someone stood up and cheered. I won with paper, with calm, with proof. I won with a door that stayed locked to chaos and open to the people who earned it. That was enough for me. Have you ever had to protect your home with calm and paper instead of shouting? Drop a comment, even just good story or your take. If you'd like to support the channel, tap super thanks. It's optional, but really helps. And please like and subscribe. Huge for us, easy for you.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.